Hello! Today, Phoebe is going to talk about hurting yourself because I just want to. Okay. I hurt myself in case you didn't already find out. If you don't know, I'm autistic. I have ASD and OCD and probably MPD and probably PTSD. Probably. And that's a lot of disorders. And with that, I just get really frustrated at myself. So sometimes I just hurt myself to distract myself. And I'm going to talk about that today. I'm not gonna start crying. I'm not gonna make everything all sappy. I'm just gonna talk about it because now it's just a thing that I do when I get annoyed. And that's it. Other people would think it's really serious, and it probably is, but I don't think so. When I just get annoyed, that's just a thing that I do. So I'm just gonna talk about that and not cry, even though, never mind. So, obviously you probably know what hurting yourself is, and you just do that when you're annoyed at yourself or something. I just made a whole other video about it, but it was getting too long and I wouldn't be able to post it and everyone would be really bored. But I don't know how to start this one without it being really long again. So, I'm gonna talk about why I started to hurt myself. First, I'm gonna talk about ways you do it. Some ways you hurt yourself, usually just with a knife on your arms or legs or something, but usually on your arms and just with a knife or a really sharp thing. And when you start to hurt yourself, you just can't stop. When you start doing it and when you do it more often, just when you're angry or really upset, then whenever you just get annoyed, the first thing that comes to your mind is, I should hurt myself. And that's really annoying, but at the same time, I can't think of anything else to do. So, I'm going to talk about how I started to hurt myself, because that's what started it all. So, if you don't already know, I basically dropped out of school when I was 11. Last year of high school, that was too much. My first primary school was so bad. I hated it. I cried every single day. I had my uniform. I would throw a temper tantrum in the car. I would even try and jump out the car door. And that's how bad it was at my first primary school. But then, my second primary school, because I finally got to leave my other one, everyone thought, well, now that you're moving, you should be happy because it's got a bunch of disabled people in it like you. Yeah, that was a horrible idea. Oh. I just got a bit of acid. That was disgusting. Okay. But that was actually much much worse than the school before. Like, that school was the school that made me start hurting myself. Like, it was already so bad, but then the next school was so bad. And that's when I started to hurt myself. Wait, no. Because, do you remember Hugo? If you don't know Hugo, he is a brat from the disabled unit of my old primary school. And he had buck teeth, and he was just so annoying. He would bully me all the time. He would call me names, and he would kick me, and privately he would beat me up and stuff, and he would just say really mean things, and I already hated my life that much, but then Hugo just had to move schools too, and then I started to hurt myself. I actually think I am gonna cry. If you start to hurt yourself, you know you will never forget the first time you did it. You know you will never forget how it started. Like that, it's just in my mind forever. And sometimes I just think about the first time I did it, and I cry about myself, even though I cut myself all the time now. So, I remember one weekend, one Saturday, I woke up before everyone else, and I was just crying because of how bad my life was. I was only 8 years old at the time, but I was just so sad. That was just so bad. Having to go there every single day, and with my OCD, and with all the disabled kids just screaming and throwing temper tantrums all the time, and the fact that I just couldn't have a shower at school, that was bad. And Hugo having to beat me up and swear at me, and he was only 10, that was bad too. So I just remember crying so much that morning, and then thinking, you know that thing where you cut yourself? Maybe you should do that. That tiny voice in your head. That voice. So I went downstairs, and I got a butter knife from the drawer. I couldn't find a real knife, so I just got a butter knife, and then I went upstairs and I cut myself. Well, cut myself. I just scratched myself basically, but still, that made me really sad. So then I remember the next morning I asked my mom, should you tell anyone if you think about suicide? And I was 8. And then, okay, you know that voice I was just talking about? I gave that voice a name. James or something. And I drew a picture of James, and I thought him as my imaginary friend, because back then cutting myself was helping me, and James was helping me. Of course that was sick, and it still is, I mean, obviously you shouldn't hurt yourself. So, I gave that voice a name, James, and he was just like a plain character. Like, he had like blonde, spiky anime hair, and he had fully black eyes, and I remember like black drips coming from his eyes, and I remember thinking he cries darkness for some reason. And then he had a massive mouth with hundreds of sharp teeth and just blood dripping from his mouth. And that was my imaginary friend, and I would talk to him and he would tell me what to do. Like, it's basically just like a Momo in your head, but it never goes away. You can't escape it because it's in your head. And that makes you upset and frustrated. And then it just makes it louder and louder and louder. And you just can't stop it. Oh God, I'm gonna cry. And then I remember just getting into the habit of cutting myself all the time. And I still do it, like 4 years later, I think. I don't know, because I left school. I left schools. I left school on my first year of high school. And even though I might think, oh, I can never be normal, I can never have friends in high school and just worry about maths tests and stuff, I don't care. I like it. I like not being so sad all the time. And even if I did go to school, I would still hide in the office all the time. And I still don't have friends. So I would still not have anyone to talk to. But anyway, I'm not talking about school. I'm talking about hurting yourself and wanting to kill yourself. This video is very long. Why are you still here? Anyway, this video is still very long too. So, anyway, that's what I have to say about hurting yourself and wanting to die. And that still happens to me, but I don't know how to end it, so I'm just gonna go. Okay, bye. Subscribe.